morning and welcome to today's virtual webinar, which is being held by CPI Media Group in conjunction with HPE and ITQAN Al-Khalij Computers. My name is Mark Forker. I'm the editor of Computer News Middle East, and I'll be the moderator for today's discussion. The title of today's virtual webinar is Experience HPE Intelligent, Hyperconverged and Composable Infrastructure. We're going to examine how HPE's hyperconverged infrastructure seamlessly combines compute, storage, networking, and data services into a physical system which can enable you to run virtualized or containerized workloads. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers this morning, and we will have two in-depth presentations on the unique capabilities of HPE's Synergy and SIMPLIVITY solution and its fabled GreenLake consumption-based IT model that is making waves across the IT ecosystem. Before we begin today's session, I'd like to give our attendees a quick run through of the agenda. Bassem Mustafa, Business Unit Manager at ITQAN Al-Khalij Computers, will give us a brief introduction and overview of ITQAN's business and outline the partnership it plays with HPE. Our first presentation of the day will be on HPE Synergy and SIMPLIVITY, and that will be conducted by Mohanad Dariki, Hybrid IT Solution Architect at HPE. Shidich Saxena, GreenLake Channel Sales, Middle East, Saudi Arabia and South Africa at HPE will then deliver his presentation on HPE GreenLake. Following the conclusion of both presentations, I will then moderate a panel discussion consisting of Shidich, Mohanad and Bassem, in which we will further explore some of the topics that have been highlighted throughout the webinar. I'd like to stress to our attendees that we want to make this session as interactive as possible, so please do submit your questions using the chat function on your platform, and I will chair your questions. So please do engage with us and send us your questions. Now, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Bassem Mustafa, Business Unit Manager at ITQAN. Bassem is a data network and cybersecurity expert with over 20 years of experience in the field of IT system integration and service providers. He has worked on solutions integrations with most of the key market players in the IT domain, such as HPE, Cisco, VMware, Juniper, Fortinet, and Palo Alto, to name a few. He is responsible for empowering the clients with highly available and secure infrastructure solutions throughout the pre-sales, design, and implementation phases. So, without further ado, I'd like to hand you over to Bassem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and thanks for joining our session for today with the CPI and HPE team. Hopefully, inshallah, you will find the session fruitful. And please try to make it as interactive as possible if you have any questions. So my name is Bassem Mustafa. I'm heading the Information Infrastructure Solution in ITQAN. And our department is mainly looking after the active infrastructure solutions. So from networking to collaboration, wireless, cybersecurity, system and storage infrastructure, including all the new trend from hyperconverged to composable infrastructure, virtualization. Then part of our offering also the data center infrastructure from active perspective, building active infrastructure for data center, top of the rack switches, core data center component, to Microsoft infrastructure and cabling infrastructure. As you may know, please let me share my presentation here. I have a couple of slides and I will try to make it very short as well. So as you may know, some of you may know that ITQAN is the system integrator and it has been established in 1984. And since then, it used to be one of the key market player in the IT industry in UAE, serving both Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Northern Emirates, with two offices, actually one in Abu Dhabi and one in Dubai, to serve Dubai and Northern Emirates. And ITQAN has installed base almost in most of the market segments, from education to defense to oil and gas, health, and most of the industries in the market. If I move to the next slide here, as you can see, this is a brief about ITQAN. So ITQAN is a 100% Emirati-owned company, and it's one of the Yes Holding Group subsidiaries. Actually, it's the IT arm of the group. And it has 400 plus employees. 80% of them are technical resources serving different technologies and different kind of solution offering in the IT. We have in ITQAN 35 plus well-maintained partnership with key players in the IT industry to be able to serve and address all our customers' business requirements. We in ITQAN have 5 ISO certificates well maintained, and we have even a team within ITQAN to monitor our adherence to the ISO processes during the whole year, not only during the certification time, from IT services management to information security, environment management system, health and safety. And this is in order to be able to serve all our customers, especially in oil and gas, defense, who require these ISO certificates. And actually, part of our facilities in ITQAN, because one of our main market segment is serving the defense, police, oil and gas. And as you know, some of these customers, due to the nature of their business, not always easy to provide or conduct POCs or test any technology at their premises. So we have built in ITQAN facilities, labs and workshops in order to help our customers to deploy any kind of solution end-to-end to showcase or test the capabilities of that solution before procuring the solution from ITQAN. As you can see in the slide here, we have in ITQAN six departments. The first department is the Smart Audio, Video, and Spatial System, which looks after all the audio video solution from meeting room management system, distance learning, video conferencing, wall screens, IP signage, and IPTV as well. And Spatial System, which is providing solutions related to CCTV, access control, anything related to physical security, gate barriers, infrared camera, face recognition, and recently COVID-19 detection as well. Then we have the IT services, which takes care of all the outsourcing and managed services. And ITQAN has a big outsourcing contract with key customers in UAE, from Ministry of Education to Mafraq Hospitals to Ministry of Finance and many others. We have the application implementation services, and that department ITQAN takes care of any solutions related to applications, either off-the-shelf applications, Oracle, SAP, Microsoft, or in-house developed or customized application related to business intelligence, business automations, ITSM, and others. We have my department, as I mentioned, the Information Infrastructure Solution, which handles any solutions related to the infrastructure. And the last department is the Critical Infrastructure, which is a kind of specialized department for a specific kind of customers for optical networking, with our main partnership with Sienna. As I have mentioned, we have install base and we have references in most of the market segments, from education, oil and gas, government, banking, transportation, in different technologies. And the last department is for sure the Project Management Office, which is the department responsible of delivering any kind of project that we are offering to our customers, from the small projects up to the complicated programs and turnkey projects. So please let me know if you have any questions about ITQAN. Now I will hand it over to Muhannad, my colleague from HPE. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Basim, for that comprehensive overview of ITQAN and your relationship with HPE. We'll be talking to you later for our panel discussion, but for now, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
I'd now like to introduce Mohammed Daraki. He's the Hybrid IT Solution Architect at HPE, and his presentation will be focused on HPE synergy and SIMPLIVITY. Over to you, Mohammed.
So hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for providing us this opportunity to bring us to you in order to do this presentation. So I will start with the HPE Synergy Composable Solution and SIMPLIVITY AI-powered HCI. Composability is an industry-wide term and not specific to HPE, but HPE today is the only company with a portfolio built for composability. We started building our composable portfolio in 2003 to embed the tools and develop the capabilities of our products to be able to integrate with software-defined market of today. The challenge is that we had these three-tier siloed data center, which are technology specific, and which require a specific set of administrative tools in order to manage these silos. So this created a discrete set of infrastructure resources. This required a distinct life cycle management implementation for each of these silos. And this also created the issue of underutilized resources. So to address all of these issues, the industry came up with the concept of composability. And with composability, it provided a solution for mainly three things. Number one was to collapse the silos of server, storage, and fabric, and create a new type of infrastructure which allows customers to have fluid resource pool assigned to any type of workload, whether it be virtualized, physical, or containerized. Number two is to provide a software-defined intelligence tool to operate at scale, where everything is being controlled and managed through software-defined templates, easy to build and easy to automate. And number three was to offer a unified API that allow organizations to implement infrastructure as a code, where a single line of code abstract all infrastructure resources and allow us to integrate infrastructure provisioning commands directly into application development tools and partner management software such as VMware vCenter, Red Hat OpenShift, and Microsoft System Center. The result was to transform the operation into a cloud-like experience on-prem with composability, to provide a solution where you have a single environment for all your application, to be able to maximize the utilization of each and every component by composing and recomposing of different applications without disruption, to enable an open and flexible environment where you can bring down your software stack, to support and manage mixed workloads in a single environment, and to standardize infrastructure lifecycle across the multiple solutions that you might have in the data center. This was for sure received by the market research and analysis. And as you can see here, we have two reports, one coming from IDC and one coming from Gartner. And if you know IDC and Gartner, they are the leading market research and analysis companies in the market today. So I've included the link for these reports here in the presentation, and you will receive it after the sessions. But basically what IDC is telling us that composability is, they compare composability against the hyperconverged and converged architecture. And what IDC is telling us that composability is suited for today and next generation applications and is suited for your mission critical workload. While the Gartner focused on the continuous application delivery and consolidation within the data center to reduce the cost and to enhance the time to market, and clearly shows that the way going into the future after the software-defined data center is going with the composable fabric-based solutions. So it is a portfolio within HPE, and out of this portfolio today we will be focusing on two solutions. The first solution is the HPE Synergy, which is an enterprise scale level solution for all enterprise workloads. And the second solution is the HPE SIMPLIVITY, which is an AI-powered hyper-converged infrastructure with zero touch and zero administration capabilities. All definitely can be delivered through our HPE GREENLAKE, which is our as a service offering that provides HPE solution delivered as a managed service on-prem with a pay-as-you-go consumption model. And my colleague Satish will be focusing on how to deliver the HPE GREENLAKE capability to transform your data center. Starting with the Synergy. So the Synergy is the first platform built from the ground up for composable infrastructure. The Synergy offers enterprise scalability across racks for up to 500 compute modules in one environment. The Synergy has an embedded management component, which is the Composer. The Synergy Composer contains the HPE ONEVIEW, which is our software-defined template-based provisioning tool and automation tool. The Synergy delivers flexible compute resources to cater for 2 and 4 CPU requirements and up to 6 terabyte of memory within a single machine. The Synergy Composable Fabric builds on the HPE Virtual Connect experience, which is our blade edge technology, and is highly dense fabric, which offers the customer the choice of either fiber channel over Ethernet networking or native FC networking. The fiber channel over Ethernet provides up to a 100 gigabyte standard for future data center, and the fiber channel native can provide up to 32 gig fiber channel native connectivity with support for NVMe offloading. The Synergy also offers a unique set of storage subsystems. We can support DAS component, we can support SAS, we can support SAN, and we can support software-defined storage technology, such as VMware vSAN or Microsoft Direct Storage Spaces. Additionally, the frame and its contents are designed to scale efficiently, to be deployed easily, and to deliver high resiliency and secure service. The Synergy Auto Discovery allows to add frames to the environment without the need to configure or to reconfigure the resources. All the components of the Synergy enclosure are highly available and redundant, including the power, cooling, networking, and storage connectivity. And the Synergy is also future-proof, and this is very important, to be able to keep up with photonics in the future, and is built with the future in mind. The HPE Synergy was designed to enable a broad range of applications and operational modules, including physical, virtual, and container application. We can see here in this slide set, this is some of the tools, and we keep emphasizing on our ecosystem that we integrate with. These are some of the tools only that integrate with the Synergy solution. So we can see that it is fit for any virtualization environment, for any automation through a private or hybrid cloud environment, for your traditional databases and traditional business application, and also for the new type of containers and DevOps applications. Taking an example, how HPE Synergy can integrate all of these together and allow you also the ability to reconfigure and recompose the resources where needed. So let's take an example of a workload of a VDI. And this is a single rack of a Synergy solution with a variety of different Synergy servers type and application running. As workloads needs to change over time, you can deprovision and recompose the Synergy resources quickly to accommodate these change in the needs. For instance, let's take a pretty typical VDI deployment. During the day, we might have a group of users working on the remote workstation hosted in the data center for security or operational purposes. Traditionally, when these resources or these remote users leave their working hours, traditionally these resources were left as unused and underutilized resources and might sit overnight without being used and being idle. But with the Synergy capability to recompose and redistribute the resources as needed, we can reallocate the resources that we were using for our VDI solution in the morning to be used for a different application during the off-working hours, such as an analytical application, while at the same time preserving the capability to use the Synergy with different type of workload and different applications, such as in memory databases, test and development and automation through Chef and Ansible, traditional databases and traditional workloads. The storage module is a DAS component that contains up to 40 disks. It supports SAS, SATA, and SSD for up to 3 petabytes of capacity within one Synergy enclosure. The variety of mix for the storage subsystems from the internal, which can be used as a software-defined storage for a VMware cluster, or it can be used as a DAS solution for any standard application that might require DAS today. And it supports natively your current investment in your enterprise SAN infrastructure, by connecting to an external all-flash or NVMe storage system. All managed through HPE ONEVIEW and adding the flavor of automation and adding the capability of software defined to all your components. The HPE ONEVIEW is delivered as a management engine integrated with the HPE Synergy Composer. The ONEVIEW handles the common admin tasks and create templates that capture day-to-day provisioning of server, storage, fabric, and OS platform. It provides a unified API to enable administrators to integrate third-party tools and to transform the infrastructure for cloud-like operation and DevOps. Once the processes have been software defined with the HPE ONEVIEW, IT administrator can easily compose on-prem physical infrastructure and manage it as a code. The physical infrastructure of the data center is defined using software, which makes it programmable and able to be managed through one unified API. ONEVIEW templates allow the admin to use the automation tool of choice, whether it's Ansible, Chef, or even PowerShell, to capture the already defined templates of ONEVIEW and apply them to hardware profiles. With the unified API and our ecosystem of partners, you can easily automate on-prem physical infrastructure. As we said earlier, we are as strong as our ecosystem, and really the HPE Synergy transforms the infrastructure into a software-defined capable infrastructure with the ability to compose for any workload. We have a published reference architecture of 64 plus partners that we work with, and these are some of the titles and the major ISVs that we have a specific integration with, such as Ansible by Red Hat, Chef Software, Puppet, PowerShell, Python, Terraform, VMware vRes Orchestration, VMware vCenter, or Microsoft System Center, and Microsoft tools. We use the unified API to integrate with these popular tools and provide the administrator the capability to manage software and hardware as one from one single unified tool. I will also now show you a video, a small demo on the ONEVIEW. Moving now to the topic of HPE SIMPLIVITY, powered for HCI by AI capabilities. So moving to software-defined solution with the HCI has driven tremendous IT productivity and efficiency gains over the hardware-confined architecture that we used to deploy. And software-defined added the capability to automate common day-to-day tasks, to provision resources on demand, and to be efficient and to reactively monitor and manage your environment. But as we look forward, IT needs infrastructure to be autonomous, in the sense that it needs to predict and prevent disruptions and to have the ability to self-heal and to self-manage. And this is where we bring our innovation for day 2 operation and beyond with our hyper-converged infrastructure powered by AI, the HPE SIMPLIVITY. The capabilities that we look at in the SIMPLIVITY is to reduce the time to innovate and even to have a zero-touch administrative appliance in remote offices and edge locations, to give a fast ROI and payback to customer, reaching up to 192% within the first year, to reduce on the costs required to integrate, build, and operate the environment, to provide smart backup and resiliency feature, and to be able to do fast backup and restoration for up to 1 terabyte of VM within a 1 minute time frame, and to be able to simply, within a single touch, to manage and provision your environment. The HPE SIMPLIVITY Intelligent HCI is built for general purpose workloads, traditional workloads, application modernization, edge, and robo, and provides the ability to be intelligent, simple in management, to be hyper efficient by providing data duplication and reduction of up to 90% with the use of data and backups, and to be edge optimized with lower administrative overhead. Looking a bit more in deep into the features of the SIMPLIVITY, all the resources in the SIMPLIVITY are software defined. The design makes it easy to manage the appliance for a VM admin, as the resources are abstract from the physical hardware and managed through the vCenter. So truly for a vCenter admin, the first tool that you log in the morning is your VMware vCenter. And adding the SIMPLIVITY to the environment, we do not really add any specific management tool for this appliance. It only appears as an appliance through a special integration with vCenter, and you see a plug-in to manage the capacity as a data store from within the vCenter. All the resources at deployment and on scale are auto-discovered. So there is no special configuration that an admin has to do to integrate SIMPLIVITY into his current vCenter environment. We manage the capacity of the SIMPLIVITY and the capability of the SIMPLIVITY through a data store approach, where the SIMPLIVITY capacity and the SIMPLIVITY capability for backup and data reduction appears as a plugin within the vCenter. There is a policy-based automation that makes it easy to set policies on data services, to configure replication, backup, snapshot without requiring any separate appliance management, and no compromise on the resiliency and the availability of the solution by providing data federation and built-in capabilities to replicate data to multiple sites. Within a single environment, we can manage up to 40 different SIMPLIVITY cluster distributed across location, within border or out of border. The SIMPLIVITY as an architecture starts by integrating our software-defined storage software into our DL380 servers. And you can start as low as 1 node for test and development environments. For production, the minimum requirement is to have 2 different nodes with a quorum. It collapses the need to have server hypervisors, storage switches, shared storage, backup and deduplication appliances, since they are integrated within SIMPLIVITY itself, and even one optimization, since the data is moved across lines between the different SIMPLIVITY clusters as the duplicated data, and provides the advantage to reduce the overhead of bandwidth wastage. The SIMPLIVITY comes in an SSD all format or in a hybrid format for different workloads and different tools, and also integrates with our HPE ONEVIEW management tool. So the value is that we collapse the silos within one appliance. You have no special requirement to administrate the environment or the appliance. You administrate it through your vCenter, and you lower the overall cost for management and for the one optimization. We can see here that SIMPLIVITY is used for multiple workloads, starting from traditional and robo, even hosting databases, in-memory databases for like SAP HANA that was certified in 2018, VDI workloads, and e-commerce application. So truly it is a solution, a virtualized hyperconverged infrastructure for all workloads within the data center. The HPE SIMPLIVITY comes with a hyper guarantee, and we are confident that our solution with all the capabilities backed by our hyper guarantee program. So all the capabilities discussed previously in this presentation are backed by an actual guarantee for all customers. And this guarantee is built into the warranty. So the data reduction is built into the warranty. The Hyper Protect, which is the 1-minute backup and restore for VMs for in under 1 minute for a 1 terabyte, is also built into this guarantee. The simplicity to have it integrated with your common vCenter tools is also part of our guarantee. And the ability to provision resources in under 1 minute is also guaranteed by our hyperconverged guarantee. Before moving forward to the second session, we did discuss the HPE Synergy as a foundation of composability and the HPE SIMPLIVITY as our powered HCI solution and powered with AI. But I also want to pay attention to the other components that we have within our composable infrastructure solution. So we have our disaggregated hyperconverged, would give you the capability to manage your infrastructure and a converged solution in an HCI-like manner, but at the same time it uses a 6/9 available storage, where you can grow your storage resources as needed and your compute resources as needed. We have our HPE Primera also within our composable infrastructure solution, which is a 100% uptime storage with all flash and support for NVMe end-to-end. Our Nimble storage, our 6/9 available storage, which provides flash-like ability with a hybrid configuration. Our secondary backup storage, which is the HPE Store Ones integrated with RMC, which relieves 70% cost of backup software by integrating the snapshot directly from HPE storage into the backup environment. Within our program and within our as-a-service program or GreenLake program, we cover the on-prem up to the edge and the cloud solution, all managed by HPE ONEVIEW and integrated with AI capability of InfoSight. Thank you very much. I will be available for any questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. That was a superb presentation. You really went into forensic detail regarding the capabilities of HPE Synergy and SIMPLIVITY. We will speak to you later during our Q&A session, but for now, thank you very much, Mohammed, for a great presentation. I'd now like to hand you over to Shidich Saxena. He's GreenLake Channel Sales, Middle East, Saudi Arabia, and South Africa at HPE, and he will deliver a presentation on HPE GreenLake. So over to you, Shidich.
Thank you, Mark. Morning, everyone. I will be speaking to you today about GreenLake, which is HPE's fastest growing business model. And I will speak to you about how it has changed the way we work in the given pandemic and the way it has grown in these times. So let me begin with what I intend to cover. One, the first is challenges that we see today. And based on those challenges, how's the market changing? How is our approach to projects changing, and how we are still able to do a project? What GreenLake is, how does it help improve your cash flow? How does it help you preserve cash and still deliver those new services and modernize your legacy application? I will speak about benefits and some of our successful references that we have in the region and worldwide, and then we'll go into open house. So before I begin presenting, I wanted you to see this short introductory video, which should be a minute long.
Getting the cloud experience outside the public cloud isn't just wishful thinking. It's HPE GreenLake, bringing the cloud experience to your apps and data, even the ones that can't go to public cloud, letting you consume everything as a service. So you can focus on innovation and delivering new experiences to your customers. Together, we determine what workloads you need, give you just the capacity you need to get started, and give you the power to add more with a click, while you pay as you go for it all. No over-provisioning, no underutilization. HPE GreenLake works with everyone you work with. This one, that one, pretty much all the ones. HPE GreenLake brings the cloud experience to you with agility, control, and speed in a single window. Clouds, edges, data centers, unified. Plus experts who can manage everything so you can innovate more and get to market faster, up to 65% faster, while developers can deploy without constraints to launch the next app or the next big thing. You can't get this from imitators. You can only get it from HPE, the partner that's been doing it for a decade. For a cloud experience 99% of customers are staying with. Just GreenLake it. So let's rewind. Get everything as a service, pay as you go, add capacity with a click, and have it managed for you. That's the cloud experience brought to your apps and data. Experience HPE GreenLake.
Okay, so before I introduce the model, I wanted to take you through some of the challenges that you as customers see every day, and why this model was built around those challenges that our CIOs and CFOs face in their journey towards digital transformation. So if these challenges are different for each business unit. If you speak to a CIO, he will tell you that his number one goal is to move a whole lot faster. If he sees a requirement today, he does not want to wait 6 to 9 months before the capacity is installed in his data center, ready to go. And he also wants to free up his resources so that they can get off the mundane IT tasks of forecasting and dealing with outages and focus more on innovation. If you have this conversation with a CFO, his number one aim would be to lower IT costs. He looks at IT as a cost center, and he wants to see how he can reduce that down to a minimum. The challenges that a CTO faces in his journey towards digital transformation would probably cover the first three that we discussed, as well as the need to have proper control. Control over performance, control over security, control over compliance. And each of these parameters is something that we will discuss over the next few slides. Model being built the way it is. Many years back, when some of our competitors came out and said everything would move on to the cloud, HPE was the first to say that not everything can move on to the cloud. The world will remain truly hybrid. And we've only seen this over the last few years become more and more relevant. More terms that we probably hadn't focused on back in the day, such as egress costs, shadow IT costs, latency issues, added on over and above the standard terms that we usually associate with cloud, which are what about governance? What about security? Security over who has access to my data, security over where is my data, and security over how much control do I actually have on this data. In addition to that, you get compliance within your organization, compliance regulations within a certain industry, or for our region, compliance within the country, laid down by the country itself. In addition to that, we saw over a period of time that more and more customers started looking at a workload-based approach to releasing solutions. They did not want to buy a certain amount of storage, certain amount of compute, some networking around it, some licenses to go on top of it, and then figure out what to do with it. They wanted to have a workload-based approach. Application deployment started moving to the containers, and this has become more and more relevant over the last few years. And consumption-based models have become the emerging preferred option that most customers around are exploring. So before I explain GreenLake, let me just break it down into what those three models are, and how GreenLake can be confused with some of the traditional models, but is actually very, very different. The leftmost column that you see is the traditional way of purchasing, where a customer has a certain budget, he goes out, he buys the infrastructure, or either releases an RFP, whichever way, pays for it, and that infrastructure is in his data center. That's the traditional older way of approach. The one in the middle that you see is leasing, where essentially the customer is doing the same thing. But here, just like your mortgage or your car loan, you pay for it over a period of time. So in effect, you still buy that capacity, you still put it inside your data center. The only difference is that you will pay for it over a period of time. The consumption-based models, and that's where GreenLake sits, is essentially looking at how we work with a customer, understand what his resource requirement is today, and align resources exactly to what he needs today, add in a certain buffer, install that resources, that compute, that storage, those licenses, all inside the control of the customer in his data center, but charge him only when he consumes it, just like how he does with the cloud. So that is the GreenLake model. And now let me just describe how it works. But before that, the vision of the organization, we as HPE know that if you look at cloud, or if you look at a traditional way of purchasing, you bring that cloud experience to your data center or your co-located site at best. But we as HPE want to be the platform as a service, edge to the core to the cloud provider to our customers. And we're trying to bring that cloud experience everywhere, not just to the data centers and co-located sites, but also to the edge and also to the cloud, and bring a consolidated single view experience to our customers, which at the moment, no one else in the market has to offer. So let me explain how it works and what GreenLake is. If you see your IT resource requirements, any customer, it's never a straight line. You will always see peaks and troughs. You will always have spikes in requirements or IT resources. And when you're done, that falls back to a lower usage. That can be different for various industry verticals. If you're a retail organization, you could see a spike in resources when you launch a certain shopping festival. If you are an airline, again, there's a certain promotion or a certain time of the year when people are getting into holidays. That's when you see a spike in resources. If you are, or for any organization in general, towards the end of the month when the HR is processing payrolls, that's when you see a spike in resources. But that is never a straight line. However, the traditional way of purchasing is in chunks, in blocks, the orange line that you see over there. You buy a certain set of infrastructure, you use it for a certain period of time. In our region, that refresh period is usually between 3 to 5 years. Or when you start running out of capacity, you add in more, you buy some more, and then you continue the way it works. Why customers do that, and that's not a wrong approach. We don't say it's wrong. But why customers do that is worldwide, close to 60% of organizations wait 3 months or longer to have new capacity installed in their data center. That number for our region on an average is anywhere between 6 and 9 months. And if you are a government entity, that can even be as long as 1 year. Now, I'm talking about the time from which the need was conceptualized to the time that equipment is actually deployed, installed in your data center, ready to go. So there's an interesting takeaway from this. When you purchase in the traditional way, what we have noticed, and these are studies that have been done by Gartner, by Forrester, that at the end of year 4, on an average for any customer, the compute utilization is 59%. And that number is even lower for storage. The storage utilization at the end of year 4 for any customer is 48%. Now that's a staggering figure, and that's food for thought, that all these resources were sitting inside a customer's data center, but they were not utilized almost till the end of year 4. And with a standard refresh cycle of 5 years for our region, by the time you get into utilizing these resources, it's time to refresh. So what we are doing with GreenLake is we are installing capacity ahead of demand, in line with the customer's resource requirement today. And that is paid for on a monthly basis when the customer consumes it. So what that immediately does, it frees up capital that the customer would have locked in with the infrastructure. And what that also does, and something that we say with confidence, is it gives a customer the confidence of capacity ahead of demand. The customer never runs out of resources, just like how it would work in the cloud. He always has a buffer available on-prem, and he doesn't have to fear about not having the resources when a certain project comes up. How we make it a true consumption-based model is the green dotted line that you see, where we sign a minimum commit level with the customer, which is lower than his resource requirement today. And that is the minimum commit level which we sign, and that's what the customer pays for on a monthly basis. So at the end of the month, when the customer gets his invoice, he only pays for what he has consumed. But he can scale up or scale down because he has the buffer installed in his data center, but he didn't use it. If he doesn't use it, he doesn't pay for it. At the same time, I must highlight that at the end of the contract term, at the end of 5 years, these resources, the ownership changes over to the customer's name, or the customer has a right to have the same unit prices signed, but move over to the latest available technology, which he decides. Unlike the cloud, where you don't have a say on what technology and what resources your apps and data are hosted on, here with GreenLake, the customer decides that the latest available technology and whatever that would be, and whatever his environment permits him to scale up to or migrate onto, he gets all of that, and he continues to pay the same unit price. So that's GreenLake. Now, how do we do the pricing? For servers, we can do it per VM, per core, or we have customers who actually walk into their data center 5 times a day. So they say, price it per physical server. So when I don't need it, I will just physically turn it off. For storage, and this is where it gets interesting, we charge the customer not just on the disks allocated, but we actually charge the customer only on the data that he writes on the disk. So that makes it a true consumption-based model. The model comes integrated with support, HPE's Data Center Care Premier services offering, inclusive of an account support manager, a technical account manager, who will present to you your environment, your growth, and ensure that you a lot of multi-vendors, which I'll speak to you about on the next slide. We do this for operating environments. We go across from Azure to Red Hat to Nutanix, name it, we do it for all of them. The bottom left slide, the piece of the slide is what I want you to see. It's understood that when your usage goes up, your billing goes up. If your usage remains flat, your billing remains flat, which is the minimum commit. But we're the only organization still in the market which says that if your usage goes down, we will bring down your billing as well. So what do you get under GreenLake? You get the enterprise grade support, the infrastructure, the compute, the storage, the network, as well as in some cases, and actually in today's environment, in most cases, where our customers want a workload-based approach, they want to, let's just say, go in for VDI as a service. So we provide the entire solution inclusive of server, storage, licenses from any third party that he decides to move on to, whether it's a Citrix or a VMware, doesn't matter, we can do it all. The implementation, the rollout, all of it as a single unit price. We do the capacity management. You have a team of resources from HPE, the ASM TAM that we spoke about, and the usage and cost metering that it comes integrated with. I'll show you the GreenLake Central Portal, a screenshot on how it is truly differentiated and how it helps you integrate your cloud, your on-prem models into one single dashboard. The optional pieces of it we can also get into are the administration, optimization, and operations. For softwares, this is where the beauty of the model is. The model is built so well that today it is regarded as one of the most comprehensive consumption-based models in the market. And that's why some of the names that you see over here, which would typically be competitors to HPE, also line up with HPE only for GreenLake. So whether that's Microsoft, SAP, Veeam, VMware, Red Hat, Nutanix, we work with every one of them. From a solution perspective, we can do the standard infrastructure as a service, which is server, storage, networking as a service. We can also get into composable VMs. We can offer a solution which revolves around backup as a service, VDI as a service, SAP HANA as a service, DR as a service. We've done all of this in one unit price, and the customer pays for it just the way he consumes, just the way he pays for his electricity and water. So like I said, we go across all of these: big data, high performance compute, networking, VDI, data protect cloud, virtual machines, machine learning, name it. We have the solution. GreenLake is a model where we as HPE no longer want to push in as much tin as we can into a customer side, but instead put our skin in the game and offer the customer exactly what he needs today and with a small buffer, which he can break into whenever he wishes to do so, and offer to the customer a complete solution approach inclusive of third-party components, built all into a model which he just consumes and pays for on a unit price. What that gives to our customers is a 65% improved agility and time to market. It gives a 30% improved ROI. This has been measured. If you see the two graphs at the bottom half of the screen, the first is where the traditional approach was that a customer would go in, make a lump sum investment into a project, then wait 3 to 5 years to somewhere break even. That has gone out. And today, more and more customers want to start small and correlate investments on any IT project with a certain outcome or a ROI that they can generate out of it. So let me show you the dashboard. And first of all, this dashboard is one of the truly differentiated offering from HPE. It is the only such dashboard that brings together all your environments of a hybrid cloud or a hybrid operating environment for a customer all into a single dashboard. It lets you do consumption analytics and automation around it. It also helps you look at the continuous compliance and monitor everything in your environment that HPE is responsible for. So this is what it looks like. A customer can actually log in whenever he wishes to do so, and so can our partners. And they can see how many resources do they have on the ground, how much of those resources have they actually consumed, and how much of a buffer do they still have to break into whenever they wish to do so. They can even split this down, and in case some of our customers want to cross-charge some of the other business units within their organization or their sister entities, they can have a breakdown here where they would know exactly the resources that they are providing to the other business units and cross-charge accordingly. What changes this, however, is that this tells you or brings together a dashboard where a customer can actually see what he's spending on GreenLake, what he's spending on on-prem, what he's spending on AWS, Azure, or VMware Cloud, whichever it is. It can bring all of that together, as well as the capability to do analytics, where a customer can actually get in and decide for himself that if he has to launch a new workload, for example, what would be the most cost-effective place to put it, whether it's in Azure, whether it's AWS, whether it's GreenLake. This dashboard helps a customer bring together the best of both worlds. So 75% shorter time to deploy any project. There's a lower risk of an unplanned downtime with HPE's data center care services. If a customer is over provisioning, the first slide that we speak about, the costs of over provisioning are brought down by 30 to 40% on an average. And it gives a customer better control and insights. Now, just to put into perspective how the model has grown, at the beginning of this financial year for HPE, we were at $3.2 billion as GreenLake contracts worldwide. Today, we stand at close to 4 billion, actually over $4 billion in contracts for GreenLake. So we've grown from 3.2 to 4 billion in the last 10 months, most of which has actually gone into this pandemic. The number of customers we were at the start of this year, again on 1st November 2019, was 740. Today, 10 months later, we are at 1,000 plus customers. So what I'm trying to tell you is, even in an environment like this, where most application deployment is on hold, most customers are using GreenLake in a way where they don't have to make any capital investments at the beginning. There is no capital outlay. They only pay for what they consume. They get to start small and they can still execute those projects. And that's why this model has been rapidly growing over the years, and especially in the last 8 to 10 months. We always deploy a certain buffer. That's something that this slide speaks about. We help free up your resources with the help of data center care services from us. You always have capacity ahead of demand, so you can scale up whenever you need to do so and break into a buffer and come out of it whenever you're done using it. You only pay for what you consume. Today, with the model growing the way it has grown, these are some of our references. These are just some of our references, most of which in MESA, Middle East and South Africa, and some Central Eastern Europe as a geography, which is HPE's geography description. But today, with how the model has grown, we've actually started building industry-specific or vertical-specific solutions for our customers. So whether it's retail, finance, manufacturing, service providers, hospitality, telcos, name it, we have been providing solutions across all of them. So just to recap for you, one, with GreenLake, you can scale up immediately in minutes, not in months, so the customer doesn't have to wait all that while to get resources on the ground. You only pay for what you consume. You do not have any upfront capital investment. You only start paying for it just like you pay your electricity and water after those resources are deployed in the customer's data center. Number three, it reduces the risk. You keep your workloads on premise in your control, in your IT's data center. And you know exactly what goes into it. So you reduce the risk, which holds you from going onto the cloud. You also reduce the risk of some of those legacy applications which cannot really move easily onto the cloud. So you can still keep them on-prem and you only pay for it just like you pay on the cloud. Get benefits from variable payments. Of course, that's something that we know about GreenLake. There is no cost of over-provisioning. We ensure that there's a minimum capacity or a minimum commit level signed with you, which is lower than your resource requirements today. So at the end of the month, what you really pay for is exactly what you consume. We are an extension to your team with the help of our resources and our support level offerings. And we simplify your environments. It's one single dashboard that brings together everything from doing analytics for future projects to how much you've consumed on your current resources to what your invoice is going to look like at the end of the month. So with GreenLake, it's our skin in the game with you. We don't want to push in as much tin as possible. We understand the environment and we are willing to work with you through our partner ecosystem to see what projects you may have wanted to put on the cloud, but you have not been able to because of governance compliance issues, or some projects where you want to have the benefits of the cloud, but you cannot do so for whatever reasons. So that's it from my side. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Shiraj. Brilliant presentation as always. I'd now like to invite, along with Shiraj, Mohammed and Bassem to join us now for our panel discussion. All right, guys, thanks for joining us again. Look, great presentations from Mohammed and Shidich. I'd just like to go back to you, Bassem. There was a question that came in from one of our attendees during your presentation, and it was, are ITQAN ready to sign a teaming agreement for projects inside and outside of the UAE?
Okay, to answer this question, inside UAE for sure, we have a lot of already signed teaming agreements, framework agreements with many customers, either for resources consultancy for project delivery or material delivery. But outside UAE, this is something that we need to check that which country, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we are part of Yes Holding Group. Yes Holding Group is operating in different countries. So this is something that need to be checked case by case.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thanks for that, Bassem. That's great. Mohammed, I want to come to you. Excellent presentation on HPE synergy and SIMPLIVITY. And as I said, you went into a lot of forensic detail, but we've got a question. Just want to know, how many fabrics does a HPE synergy frame support? And can you elaborate a little on that?
Thank you very much, Mark. And that's a very brilliant question, really, from our attendees, and very perceptive. So one of the challenges that we have today with the virtualized data center is actually the bandwidth limitation that the traditional infrastructure provides. And with the HPE synergy, as we saw, we are providing a high density fabric that can support up to 100 gig. And it can start as low as one rack, and it can grow up to 500 nodes within 10 adjacent racks. Our best practices is to include each 3 enclosures, which is up to 36 nodes within one single redundant fabric that can provide up to 1,200 gig ports. This can be used for LAN connectivity, this can be used for SAN connectivity, or this can be used as an FCOE. We maintain the ratio of 3:1 over subscription over our networking ports to allow for virtualization to perform without any bottlenecks.
Brilliant. Great answer, Mohammed. Thanks for that. That was a very comprehensive response. Shidich, just want to come to you now. Before I get into the nuances of the GreenLake model that you discussed, I found it interesting how you touched on, the hybrid model is the right mix of public and private. But I do remember a time when the argument and the conversation used to be, private or public, and that was the argument. I want to pick your brains. What changed? I think the future now seems to be, it's the best of both worlds. Have a bit of private, have a bit of public. What caused that mindset to shift away from someone who was team private versus team public? In your opinion, can you just give us a bit of an insight into what changed that mindset?
Sure, Mark. So when AWS first came out with cloud 10 years back, and they said everything will move on to the cloud, they hadn't really thought through some of those other terms. And over the last few years, we saw that cloud became the buzzword. Everyone wanted to explore that journey of moving on to the cloud, whether it's private, it's public, it doesn't matter, but to move on to that cloud journey. The first things that happened were, obviously, cloud comes with one basic criteria: standardization. Whether it's a standardized OS, a standardized DB, whatever it is standardization. And most organizations which have grown organically for our customers, they cannot be standardized. It was something that cannot be done. And even if it can be done, it required a whole new investment for itself before it can be moved on to the cloud. That was one. And that was one of the biggest reasons. So that's, if you look at the trend today, if you look at where we stand globally, 30% of customers' applications have already moved on to the cloud. But those are the only ones that can go onto the cloud. For the rest of them, there's always been a question of how do I do it, and whether I can do it, and whether I can standardize. Other than that, just as an example, NASA recently came out with this rather bold statement that they went onto the cloud journey and they invested close to $28 million on that cloud journey. And then they figured out after that that the data egress charges, that is, if a customer wanted to come back from the cloud, were close to $8 million. That's almost 25% of the project.
Wow.
What that did was it immediately created this notion that, imagine someone like NASA charging to send and then charging you back to bring them back. And that's the egress charges that everyone started speaking about. In addition to that, most of our customers have always dealt with questions around security. What am I hosted on? And where am I hosted in the first place? And who has access to my data? So those questions around security started becoming more and more over the period of time. And we've seen outages with cloud lead to billions of dollars of losses. We have examples and examples and examples. It's just endless. The last is around compliance. There are times when there are compliance restrictions. Compliance is laid down by an organization, or if you're a banking or any other customer, there are compliance regulations laid down by the industry, or compliance is laid down by the country itself. Like in the Middle East, UAE lays down a certain compliances. So when you look at all of that together, it restricts you from going on to the cloud. We don't say that cloud is bad or it's good. If you look at GreenLake Central, it actually is the hybrid cloud offering. It brings together your hybrid, your cloud, your public-private cloud, as well as your on-prem environment. But what we are trying to say is, for those remaining 70%, here's a solution which gives you the cloud-like benefits, but on your prem, in your control, in your data center.
Brilliant. That's fantastic, Shirits. Thanks for that. Basim, I want to come back to you. Obviously, during your initial presentation, you sort of gave us a brief overview of HPE and the huge success you guys have had over the years. But I just want to find out a little bit more about your relationship with HPE and how, you know, if you can tell us the role HPE plays in terms of enhancing HPE's products and solutions portfolio.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Before answering the question, please, if you allow me to ask our attendees to share their contacts, because due to a technical glitch, we have an issue in showing their names. So please, if they can share their contacts and their names. To answer the question, Mark, as I mentioned at the beginning, ITQAN is a partner with HPE and gold partner since almost more than a decade. Okay. And HPE used to be, and it's still a cornerstone of our offering for system storage, hyperconverged, and recently composable infrastructure as well. And for networking, honestly speaking, which is not part of our discussion today, for networking and wireless with Aruba. And we used to be one of the first HPE partners in the region to demonstrate, showcase, and get our team certified on any new HPE technology that is released by HPE, either to support our HPE install base, to empower our customer with the new offering, the updated offering from HPE, upgrade the software, empower the setup with the new features. And having said that, we used to transfer our knowledge to our customers regarding the new technology. The best example here is the Synergy hyperconverged offering from HPE and the composable infrastructure from HPE, with the two best examples for this, which we have deployed many POCs for most of our customers when these two solutions got released. And as you know, the development in any technology is a continuous process. So whenever we deploy an HPE solution for any of our solution, we keep making sure that that deployed solution is fulfilling and addressing all the business requirement of the customer, monitoring the release of any new software update that we need to push to the customer, management software, and sometimes these deployments we are doing even as a kind of a demo environment or a POC for our key customers.
That's brilliant, Basim. Thanks a million for that really comprehensive answer again. So appreciate that. You went into a lot of detail. Mohammed, I want to come back to you and bear with me here, because I'm not as much of an expert in all these things, obviously, as you guys, but composable infrastructure, I take it has three elements, which are compute, storage, and networking. But I just want to know, so do you apply software to automatically manage these resources and then use a unified API to control the integration of these resources? Am I on the right track here? And maybe just, if you can, just elaborate composable infrastructure for a dummy like me.
Okay, no worry. For composable infrastructure, I do believe, and Mohanna can correct me if I'm wrong here, HPE was the first vendor to come with this kind of solution to help the customer who are still having workloads that need to reside on a bare metal servers. So with the composable infrastructure, the customer can have all his bare metal workloads or his virtual workloads or his containerized software on the same platform, and allowed to scale whenever he needs to scale. I'm not sure if any vendor came yet with that offering other than HPE, but from ITQAN side, I believe we were one of the first HPE partners to deploy that solution for one of our key customers.
Mohammed, can you just comment on that and just maybe explain a little bit more about the composable infrastructure? Because I did find it very fascinating during your presentation. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the complexities of how it works.
Definitely, I would like to echo what Bassem said. So the challenge that we are trying to resolve is how to manage the different workloads that we have today, from physical, from virtual, from containerized, from our traditional application, and from our cloud native application within the data center. In the past few years, there was a lot of solutions, but these solutions were presented within the data center as silos, each within its distinctive set of tools, management experience, and design, let's say, from an architecture point of view.
Yeah.
Composability was a industry-wide term, so it's not really specific to HPE. It was an idea that the industry wanted to launch. But correctly, as Bassem said, the only company today on an enterprise level that is providing composable solutions into the market is HPE.
Right.
The idea with composability is to be able to address all of these workloads, but at the same time to provide our customers the capability to have an open API, as you said, Mark, and a software-defined management tool that makes it easy for customers to automate and to scale into the future.
Okay, so you're removing a lot of complexities for them then, really, by using this, by utilizing this composable infrastructure. Yeah, brilliant. That's great. Shedich, I want to bring you back in. We've just got a question from one of our attendees who have said, I didn't find the security features explained for GreenLake, so he wants to know, how do you assure us the availability of the systems, and how much is the availability assurance we are getting when working with GreenLake?
Great. So all GreenLake solutions come with data center care. And when you say data center care, it's our top of the line service offering from HPE, which allows you the highest service availability levels, and there's nothing which can be reduced downwards on that. We pride ourselves with GreenLake, and that's why every solution has to come with data center care. With that, we assure our customers of spares being in the country at any given point in time for any of their projects. So whenever there is an outage, you already have parts in country. And you have a TAM, a technical account manager, and an account support manager, which I assign to you, who will look at this, who will ensure that sometimes those parts, if you're remotely located, those parts maybe are stored on your site in your data center as a spare. That's number one. The second, if you look at security, that question can also go over to, listen, you're measuring how much am I using, so do you have access to my data? So no, the answer to that is no. What we have access to is purely an utilization level. There is a software which is on the Cloud Cruiser software, and that's locally deployed on your system, which only pings your systems for utilization levels and does a monthly average of that utilization and gives you a monthly report, usage report. Other than that, we have access to no other information in your environment. So security from that point of view. And the third, security around, when when I saw your question, I felt that you were asking of control as well. So when you have all that equipment sitting in your data center, in your control, the security compared to a cloud, any other cloud-like model, is pretty much taken care of as well.
That's brilliant, Chirich. I think you've answered everything that he raised there, but he's also just asked, is there any one project that you've referenced being executed here in the UAE?
We actually have a huge number of projects around. Projects that I can speak to you about, which are referenceable customers, and you will find them across on HPE websites as well as YouTube everywhere. It goes from Transguard to Emirates Global Aluminium being one of our largest deployments, to Injazat, to DP World, to name it. We have customers now in each industry vertical. So I can share those names of the ones which are referenceable. So these are just some of them.
That's brilliant, Chirich. Thanks a million. Mohanad, I want to bring you back in. Look, guys, it's been a fantastic discussion so far. So we're coming towards the end now. I know in your presentation you really did go into a lot of detail, but if I had to press you and push you for an answer, and as short as possible, what do you think differentiates HPE Synergy and SIMPLIVITY from other sort of rival solutions that are on the market? You know, if I had to ask you, what ultimately do you think differentiates that solution?
So definitely, thank you very much, Mark, for that question. So with SIMPLIVITY, it's definitely the simplicity of managing the environment. And as we said, we are trying to integrate AI capabilities within all our solution to create a zero-touch administrative experience. With Synergy, I would also emphasize on the simplicity and removing the complexity to manage the environment. But I would like also to add to that the openness of the solution to be able to integrate with 64 plus ISV in the market, giving the customer the ability to choose and the flexibility to build his own environment rather than imposing a preset solution based on it.
Yeah, and as you say, I think that's critical in this day and age, that customers want that autonomy, they want that control, and if you're able to provide it for them, you're gonna have a lot of success. Bassem, just a final question for you. Obviously, I touched on it earlier. ITQAN has been one of the region's leading system integrators and solutions providers for over 30 years. How have you been able to sustain that phenomenal success over such a long period of time, especially when you consider how competitive the industry, IT industry is?
Okay, thanks, Mark, for the question. I myself used to ask the same question to myself before joining this company. What I can say here is that ITQAN is a solution-driven company. It's not a company that is behind books moving or just technology moving. It's a solution-driven company, which means we always keep our eyes on the customer business challenges, okay, monitoring this closely, and make sure that any technology available in the market we are aware of, and we are positioning whenever possible to address these challenges. Again, I will go back to my answer to the previous question, which means that we have always to be engaged with the customer even after we deliver our project, to make sure that the deployment that we have done or the solution that we have deployed address all the customer challenges. And one of the technical aspects that I can share here, we are always monitoring, for most of our deployments, we are monitoring the software updates. We are actually waiting for it, or sometimes we are sharing with the vendors the need for a new feature to be able to integrate the deployed solution with another component, and we are monitoring, waiting for that release to come in order to deploy it. So as I just mentioned, we are a solution-driven company, not a books-moving company.
Brilliant. Solution-driven company, love that. Chirich, I'll give you the floor for the final question. Obviously, of the GreenLake model, we know there's a growing demand for enterprise for that consumption-based IT model, and HPE GreenLake certainly provides that. And I think you said it's HPE's fastest growing business model. But what differentiates this pay-as-you-go cloud model from other solutions? I know you mentioned the unified dashboard, and I know there is other elements as well. But in your opinion, what do you think ultimately differentiates GreenLake from others?
So some of those, thanks, Mark. So some of those parameters are the ones that we discussed already, that customer doesn't pay anything upfront. He has it in his data center, in his control, but he only pays for what he consumes. The differentiators become when you start talking about what happens at the end of the contract. At the end of the contract, the customer gets to refresh it onto the latest available technology, which he dictates. We have had customers who have walked into our events at GITEX, look at a Gen 10 launch, who have been with GreenLake for the last 3-4 years and say, okay, it's time for refresh and I want to move on to Gen 10. So they dictate the technology, and we continue to charge the same unit prices as was signed 5 years back. That for them is a big plus. We back to their management and ask for more funds for doing a refresh. It just continues. We are the most complete solution in the market with respect to third parties. Name any third party. There are customers who have come to us saying, I want to do a VDI solution. We offer them Citrix, VMware, anything else available in the market. We can actually bundle all of it together. So it is the most comprehensive, robust model in the market today. And that's why you see a lot of our third parties lining up with us as well, specifically for GreenLake, even those which you would typically call competitors. It's got to do with that. And just a little nugget, last quarter, Q3 that ended for us, we saw a 88% year-on-year growth on GreenLake alone. So it's just staggering the rate at which it has been growing. And
the proof is in the pudding when you're quoting stats like that. So look, Shedich, that's fantastic. Look, guys, that's us now. That's the end of today's virtual webinar. I think it's been a fantastic session. I want to thank Shedich, Mohanad, and Basim for their contributions today. Really enjoyed speaking to all three of you guys, and I think you really articulated your points excellently, and that makes my job a lot easier. And all the attendees, we really do appreciate you guys joining us and submitting your questions and making it interactive. We really do appreciate it because we know everyone's very busy and it's not the easiest thing to jump on a call for an hour and a half. So thanks a million, guys. As I say, on behalf of me and CPI Media Group, I want to thank everyone for joining today, and we'll hope to see you all in the future. So that's it, guys. Thanks a million.
thank you, Mark.
Thank you.